Hey everybody, what is up? I am NihonTiger and welcome to F1 2018 for Dummies! Yay! If you're here, it might be because you're interested, you saw this video pop up on my channel, you're like, I don't know what F1 is, what is the thing? How do I do the things? So, or maybe you're just kind of interested about the track. We're going to go over the track a little bit as well here. We're at Australia in Albert Park in Melbourne, the traditional start of the Formula 1 season. And we're in the Renault F1 car, selected because I like the color scheme. It reminds me of a certain soccer team that I'm a fan of, and because my favorite driver in F1 is going to be racing for Renault in 2019. It will be Daniel Ricciardo. So I just decided to pick the Renault team for whatever reason. But here we are. We're in the cockpit. There's Halo. We will not be seeing this in just a moment here. So we've got ourselves a chance to look around. There's our fancy wheel with all the knobs in front of it that handle things like your brake bias and the energy recovery system. A lot of complex things. We won't be worrying too much about that. So we've got a couple buttons to push here. Go to track and session info. We'll press the session info button. You can see here's our leaderboard. And the friends leaderboard. Georgian is slightly faster than me. And the car's set up. So this is probably the biggest thing that you'll see on this menu is the car setup. We're in time attack mode, time trial mode, I should say, here at Australia. So a couple of presets here: max downforce, increase downforce balance, default, increase top speed, max top speed. Lots of presets that are fairly helpful. You can also do a custom setup where you can change all the aerodynamics, transmission, so your front and wing aero, differentials, suspension geometry, camber and toe, suspension, ARB, ride height, brake bias, brake pressure, front and rear tire pressure, your ballast, weight distribution. So all those things can kind of affect the car, and it's all dependent upon the track, depending on weather conditions, what kind of tires you're running. You know, what your goal is. You want to run something that's more stable and has better fuel mileage, or do you want to run something that's faster, but you may have to pit a little sooner because it might wear your tires out. I should also mention the engine map's one of the knobs on there too. I don't have a wheel that's this complex. I can't change all these things on the fly. So if you're using a controller or a less complex wheel like my Thrustmaster T150 here, you probably don't have that many buttons too. So you won't have to worry about this too much. There's a lot of things you can set to be automatic. But we've kind of gone over some of these basics here. And we can go to our flying lap. So let's talk a little bit about the car here. It is a rear wheel driven turbocharged V6 as the regulations here. Got all kinds of wonderful electronic gizmos and gadgets to help us out. So we race around Albert Park here. Hear that little beep sound. You see that DRS button. Oh, don't pull an Alonso or a Brundle. So what that is, that DRS is called the drag reduction system. Oh, invalidated my lap. And what that is back in the day they came up with the idea of having really Braun came up with the idea of using the double diffuser for extra speed, I guess, and the DRS was kind of like a compromise in a way at that. Also to help facilitate passing. It's used in certain zones on the track. You have to be within a second of the driver in front of you. You can't use it defensively. So if you're driving and there's a guy a second behind you, you don't get DRS, they do, and vice versa. And it can only be used in certain conditions in certain parts of the track, namely the straights. There's a detection zone that you have to go through, and if you're within the second, when you go through the detection zone, you get to use the DRS. In time trial mode here, you just get to use it no matter what. That's kind of like qualifying in that regard. And there we go. There's also an energy recovery system, which is based on two different two different other components of the car generate additional energy, which is used to help power the car as well. There's an MGU-K, which relies on kinetic energy from braking being turned into electrical energy, and there's also a MGU-H, which does the same with, I believe, heat energy from the turbocharger. And so each kind of does its own thing, and I believe the reduction system, the energy recovery system that you can control is the MGU-K, if I remember right. MGU-H is, I believe, a static system at the moment. They're changing the regulations next year, so all of these things are going to change in F1 2019. You're going to have like the ability to, or if not F1 2019, maybe like 2020 or 2021, you'll have drivers able to deploy the ERS as almost like a boost, kind of like how it is in LMP. But don't have to worry too much about it if you don't want to. You can have the game set up so that it will automatically handle your ERS for you, and I think a lot of people will probably do that. It's complex to really manage it, and if you're not going for the full sim feel, like for the league that Cone and Kurt and Beef are setting up, we're kind of going to have some leeway about some of the settings that we're able to use if we so choose. It won't be like super hardcore sim, so it's really up to you. I'm not going to go too much into the technical details in this video. I feel like going into technical details for DRS and ERS would be better for a follow-up video, so that I don't overwhelm everybody from the get-go here. But we'll pause for just a moment, take a look at the preferences. We've got some assists here, and if you want to go a little bit faster, you can turn off some of these assists. Not all of them are actually that helpful. In particular, I don't think braking assist is very helpful, and I don't think having a automatic gearbox is also very helpful. Now, depending upon what kind of control scheme you're using, you may find it useful to use the automatic. I know when I had a controller, when I started out, I was using automatic, and now that I have a wheel, I go to manual. There's also manual and suggested gear, and there's a manual with a clutch. So if you're going to do that, you need to have a clutch set up as well. Manual by itself basically just treats it like a sequential gearbox, that something similar to what you would see in a WTCR car, where all you have is just the paddle shifters, and you're just having to worry about using the clutch at launch, and even the game will tell you how to do that, so you don't have to worry about it too much. You just hold down the upshift here, upshift paddle, and just match revs, and you can get a good launch. There's a dynamic racing line. Now for that, I would say that depends upon your comfort with the track and your comfort with the car and Formula 1 in general. If you want to keep it on, you can set it to full, corners only, or off, have it be 3D or 2D. I really don't have for me, I don't have a reason to do this anymore. I know all of these tracks. I know how to handle this car. I can kind of figure out cornering, gearing, all that stuff on my own. Braking zones. So I don't necessarily need to use this. You may need to use it. It's not a shame if you need to use it. Don't feel like you're awful because you have to use it, but do keep in mind that a lot of people will not use it, and to really get to be a better driver, you probably want to eventually get to a point where you can turn this off, because conditions will change. Your not just weather conditions, but your race condition, where you are in the field. Are you passing somebody? Are you not passing somebody? That will change your brake points too, and the dynamic racing line doesn't necessarily always help with that. It kind of teaches you where generally you want to brake, turn in, all of those things, and you kind of need to have a little bit of freedom once you want to start to get really faster, to kind of figure out, okay, what line do I want to take through here, and how does that help? And again, that's another video. We'll get more into more advanced stuff. I feel like that's F1 for Dummies 102 at this point. Anti-lock brakes, if you want the sim the full hardcore sim feeling, turn it off. If you don't, turn it on. Braking assist, again, I would say probably you don't need to have that on. Pit assist, I probably will turn this off at some point once I figure out what each of these do. I think pit release assist just helps you with getting out of the pits. Pit assist helps you getting in, to put your pit limiter on, slows you down automatically, and that kind of, I think, even drives you into your pit stall. Again, you know, you may want to use this if you're concerned about something. Eventually, you'll probably get to the point where you can just turn this off if you have it on. Same with pit release assist. You probably don't necessarily need to have these things on. I'm sure I will turn those off. Traction control is the other big one. You can go full, medium, or off. I'm keeping it on full right now. If I turn it off here, I'll show you kind of how crazy this gets. Yep. So here we go. I've got the image off right now, by the way, just because time trial, you don't need it. Oh, in reverse. There we go. Kind of spun it there. Turned it off and immediately spun it. Oh, yeah. So with traction control fully on, it becomes really hard to spin it. You just have to, when you have it off, you just have to kind of treat it like you would, very, very delicately. Very. See, that's kind of the thing, is, hey, collided with the wall. Oh, turn that off. If you turn off the traction control, it is kind of going to be a little bit more realistic, but at the same time, you're going to have to really, really watch it when you are driving here. My tires are pretty much chewed up at this point. That's okay. Alright, let's get the car figured out. So we're going to kind of shift up here, put our DRS on. So as far as just in general, as far as advice goes, I would say the first thing to keep in mind is a lot of people will ask for fast setups. They'll ask for, okay, you know, give me this super fast setup. Give me the setup that will make me a god around here. And the thing is, setups are helpful, but a setup won't help you if you're overdriving a car in every corner. And I'm just gonna kind of take it slow here, get a little bit of rhythm back. There's a lot of things you could do. The most common thing I think you'll see people do is like that. You just kind of overdrive the car, have a little bit of understeer. And usually, that's as simple as you turned in too late, you brake too late, you took a little too much speed into the corner. So yeah, see, a little too fast there, so you go straight off. And that's not a setup thing, that's a driver error thing. That's a thing you change by changing your approach. You can also get a little bit on oversteer sometimes, these cars where the back end get a little squirrely. Especially if you have traction control off there, you become quite fussy. You can also turn in a little too early and cut the inside corner. So sometimes you might turn in like right here and oh, I cut the inside corner. That's not good. Or you overslow the car and now you're getting on the gas when the wheels straighten back out on exit instead of starting to put a little more power in as you get through the corner. Like that. Even that wasn't perfect. So the first thing to really think about when you're thinking about how the car is handling is there anything I can change? Is there something I can do better? And if the answer is yes, then do it. Experiment with stuff. Experiment with your turn-in. Experiment where you're braking, where your acceleration, where gears you're taking through corners. Put the time in and practice, and when it becomes kind of natural for you, they'll start showing up on the track. So let's talk a little bit about Albert Park while we're here. It's It's a street circuit, sort of. It's located in a park in Melbourne, Albert Park, obviously. Coming on the front straight here, hit that DRS. On the pit straight, we're going to brake around the second marker. Oh, overshot it, not uncommon for that. Get that DRS opened here. Very, very tough here. Going into turn 3, want to get the car slowed down. On the second. Turn the car from the outside in turn 4. Up in turn 5, watch the outside wall. Get the car carried to the outside here in turn 6. That's turn 5. That's turn 6, I think. Down here, gets a little bit of wiggly. The next corner, you're going to want to brake, but not brake too early, because you can overslow the car really easily here. And lose a ton of speed. And here, fast section. Going down toughest part of the track right here. These 2 corners are meant to be taken very fast. Starting on the left, don't cut it too much. Starting on the right, don't cut it too much. There you go, right there. There's your invalidated lap time. You cut those corners too much, you'll lose your. You can be aggressive on those. You just don't want to be too aggressive. 4th or 5th there. Get a long right-hander. One of the slowest corners on the circuit right here. Right before the pit. Slow left-hander. Watch the rear end here. Car wants to slide out to the outside. It's a fairly flat corner. Down that DRS. Back on the DRS here. Watch the curbs, watch the walls. You have damage on, very easy to have an incident that knocks you out of the race because you were a little bit too wide on exit. I screwed that up. That's going to cost me on the exit there. So there's our DRS detection zone. Again, I kind of screwed that up. Oh! Hit the Ballard. So again, coming down to turn 1 here, we're going to want to go ahead, slow the car, back on the gas as soon as possible. Oop, got a little too much there. Back on the gas as soon as we can. Don't let the car slide around too much. Watch those big sausage curbs, they're going to upset the balance. Again, coming down here. Watch the sliding of the car as you get down to that last kind of outside curve there on the right, on the left, I should say. Let's keep running laps here. Let's see if we can bust our time. A little too much. A little too greedy for our own good there. That was actually nice. We're on the super soft, on the ultra softs, yeah. So we're not going to gain a whole lot of time here. There's something I want to try though while I'm still here. So this lap's kind of toast. And let's go ahead and let's go back to the garage. I want to change something here. So let's go ahead. Let's go to session info. Change our setup here to increase top speed. And we'll see how that helps. So we're gonna have a little bit more top speed now, at the cost of a little bit of downforce. I screwed that up. I went to hit my L2 button and I hit my paddle instead. Let's see what we can do. I got a little too close there on the inside curve. That would have been a good lap. Oh, come on. Boo. So I can definitely feel a little bit of understeer. Oh, yep, see? That's the thing to be careful of. In a race condition, that would be a broken front wing. Again, one of the things to remember here is that you want the car to be really smooth. Your inputs need to be smooth. You don't want to suddenly upset the car. Oh, I keep catching that. I need to get a good lap in here. Let's see if we can beat Georgian's time. Looking good so far. Looking good, looking good. Alright, we did it. It's going to be a 123. 123.7. Nice. Whoop. Haha. I did it. I did it, and that's all that mattered. Woo! Boy, I pushed that so hard. Oh my goodness. Look at that. We moved up a whole bunch. Friends leaderboard number 1. Number 1. Of course I had ABS on, so not quite as nice. Cohen had ABS on, but he didn't have manual with auto clutch. But yeah. Woo! We did it. We did it, everybody. We're at the top of our friends leaderboard. That makes me happy. So, that's kind of a super rough look here at Australia, at kind of some of the things to keep in mind as you're going around the track. I hope this was at least a little bit helpful to you. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more. If there's something you're interested in, let me know and I will do some research on it and we can talk about it in the next video. Next track, I believe, when is race number 2 of the season? Is it Bahrain? I think it's Bahrain. I'm not 100% certain on that. They mix up the schedule here and there, and they're changing everything around this year and next year, so who knows. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you got something useful out of this. If not, well, let me know, and I'll try and do my best to try and make it even simplify it down or add something in to make it more useful for you. But yeah, that's it for F1 for Dummies this week, or F1 2018 for Dummies this week. Hope you enjoy it. Hope it helps you get around the track, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.